Today we are working Psalm 121. Psalm 121 is one of the Ascension Psalms, and by itself it's used for protection while traveling, for safety at night, and to protect against nightmares. Today we are going to use Psalm 121 for protection while traveling. The way we work psalm magic is very simple and effective. We take the psalm and we read it out loud all the way through once without stopping. This is called an incantation. Then we take that same psalm and we go back through it and we consider each verse one at a time. We search for those meanings that lie behind the words. We call those magic seeds. By searching, by digging, by applying what we find to the situation that we brought to the psalm, we're taking those magical seeds and planting them deeply in the fertile grounds of our minds, where they take root, they grow, they blossom forth, and then they bear fruit after their kind. And that's exactly what we are going to do together right now with Psalm 121. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved, he that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper, the Lord is thy shade upon the right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. The majority of these Ascension Psalms are very brief, and they're usually rather uplifting and very specifically speaking to initiation. They represent a type of pilgrimage. It says, I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. The hills represent where that temple is, Zion. And Zion is a symbol for the meeting place in your mind where you and the infinite are one. And the image that I use frequently is the idea that my soul is created in the same way that a sunbeam is created. It is extended from the sun itself. So that place where the sunbeam is connected to the sun, that is Zion. That's the temple. In this initiatory path, what's happening is we have to climb that hill in our minds to find that meeting place. And the reason why is because our ego mind, that part of our mind that believes that we're separate, has created this whole identity for ourselves, that where we believe that we are separate, we are alone, we are in a very dangerous world, we have all kinds of problems, and we have to climb out of that thinking. We have to climb up the hill to Zion, where that temple is, and recognize that what we're climbing out of is the illusion. We're climbing out of the dream that we're separate. And that's the whole idea of initiation, is it seems so scary and hard and filled with danger. In reality, what's happening is that we are climbing out of the illusion of danger into the understanding of how safe we actually already are. So I will lift up mine eyes unto the hill. So I'm going to look at this journey ahead of me, up where Zion is, where I have to go. From whence cometh my help? And I understand that the reason why I want to make this journey is to relinquish this world as I understand it, and instead accept the world where my help already exists. The reason why my help already exists in that world is because that's the world where I already live. I already live in that world, but I have to climb out of the illusion to get there. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. So the Lord is infinite intelligence, infinite love. The Lord has all kinds of names: infinite love, infinite soul, infinite spirit, divine and perfect truth, infinite intelligence, perfect presence, the principle of life itself, divine law. Those are all names for the Lord. Those are all names for God. And when we think of God as those things, we understand how close God is to us and that we really are an extension of that. We don't have to go far away from ourselves to find God, but we do have to leave the illusion in order to find God. And all of this is important to understand in regards to our practical concern here as well. If we understand what we're dealing with on an esoteric level, it informs the practical. So all of these things, by knowing all of these things and by planting these seeds, of course we're protected in our travels. Of course we're protected everywhere we go, because we understand that there's no place in any part of any universe where we are not at one with this help. It says, which made heaven and earth. Well, heaven and earth are very important concepts in the Psalms. Heaven and earth simply means cause and effect. Heaven means cause, earth means effect. And so infinite intelligence creates out of the law of cause and effect. And so when we allow the infinite to be the cause rather than our own ego minds, the effect, or the earth, is very different than the earth that we are used to living in, that earth that we are trying to climb out of, that illusion that we're trying to climb out of here in this psalm. This psalm is a very esoteric and initiatory psalm, and it deals with very esoteric topics that can be utilized to have very practical effects in our lives. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. When you're climbing up out of this illusion, when you're climbing up those hills, when you are raising your consciousness to the heights that you are capable of, infinite intelligence makes sure that you don't fall, that you don't slip, that there's not a problem. So you can go for it. You can go on your journey, whatever that journey happens to be, knowing that the infinite's got you. You're not going to have a slip. Because if your whole life is dedicated to this idea of awakening, this idea of ascension, then any of the so-called mundane parts of your life are included in that. And that includes if you have to be traveling, that includes when you're commuting, that includes anything wherein you feel like you might be vulnerable or unsafe in the world. By remembering and aligning with the magic of the psalm and understanding that your life is now simply a journey of awakening, then every part of that journey is under the care and protection of the infinite, rather than being a plaything of your ego. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. The infinite doesn't sleep. The infinite doesn't go through cycles. That's something that we deal with here. We have to go through cycles. We sleep and we awaken. We sleep and we awaken. We have to. That's what this earth is about. Cycle, cycle, cycle. We can honor those cycles here, but we have to understand that life doesn't go through cycles. It appears to, but life doesn't end. Infinite intelligence doesn't end. It doesn't sleep and wake and sleep and wake. It's constantly there for you. So you don't have to worry about God losing your file. You don't have to worry about, oh shoot, did the infinite fall asleep and forget to take care of me? You are constantly safe when you are under the protection of the infinite. And you are under the protection of the infinite when you decide to be. When you decide to be. The infinite always wants to protect and help you, but can't go against your free will. So if you decide that that's what you want, then that's what you'll get. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. Israel is your soul. Israel is the truth of who you are. Isis, Ra, El. That's you. You are male and female, just like a battery, and who you are is divine. You can't help that. You can't unmake yourself. You can't stop being Israel, even if you try. We do try. We try hard to prove to ourselves how bad we are or not good enough we are or how faulty and defective we are. That's what we work overtime trying to do as a species. And that's the mental disease of the ego or the demiurge, this idea of fragmentation. And the infinite knows that none of that's true. So the infinite doesn't slumber, the infinite doesn't sleep, but we do. And we don't sleep and wake and sleep and wake like we think we do. We sleep and wake and sleep and wake in a dream where we're asleep all the time. Remember, these Psalms are included in the same book that has Genesis. And Genesis has a wonderful line, Adam fell asleep. And nowhere, anywhere in any other part of that book does it say that Adam woke back up. When Adam was put to sleep, remember, Adam hadn't yet turned into male and female. Adam was still that androgynous being. And Adam was put to sleep in that nightmare to extract the male from the female. And that's a symbol of the splitting up of our mind from the infinite into a bunch of fragmented egos. Recognize that all of this is happening within a nightmare, and that the infinite doesn't have nightmares, the infinite doesn't sleep, the infinite knows that we're safe, the infinite knows that we're perfect just the way that we were created, and also knows that we have the freedom to sleep and to have nightmares, and that we have the choice to wake up from that. And as we do, and while we do, we can claim that we are protected in the meantime. No matter what's going on, infinite intelligence is protecting us within the dream. The infinite wants us to feel safe here. The infinite wants us to be safe here. The infinite wants us to be taken care of here until we realize that we don't really need this kind of life anymore, that we can live where we are as souls. And that's the ultimate goal of ascension. The ultimate goal of initiation is waking up to the truth of who we are, that none of this is happening the way we think it is. So in the meantime, we are protected. So wherever you have to go, whatever you have to do, any kind of travel that you do within the dream, you are protected. Why? Because you're claiming it. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. Remember that the Psalms were scribed by desert dwellers, and the sun was always seen as something that could be deadly. Wherever there is shade in the Psalms, it means protection. When your right hand is protected, it means what you do is protected. The way that you interact in the dream is protected. Not only that, but if you are asking for guidance, which is what we always do when we're ascending, because if we knew how to get to where we're going, we'd already be there. If we knew how to awaken, we'd already be awake. So we always ask for direction. We always ask for guidance. This is another way that the Psalms are talking about. If you're guided by infinite intelligence, everything you do is under its protection, including traveling, including whatever it is, under the infinite's protection. And that's what it means when it says the Lord is thy keeper, keeps you safe. Now, the Lord won't keep you safe if you refuse that safety. Ultimately, you're safe. Ultimately, you're safe because you're just asleep. But within the dream, where everything seems real, that's where our reality is, the thing that we understand as reality, is not very safe. This is not a safe world. The infinite can't do anything for you unless it does it through you. And if you're refusing to be helped, then the infinite has to wait until you stop refusing. It may have to wait lifetime after lifetime after lifetime for you. Eventually, you'll get to the point where you ask for the help, where you'll ask for that safety, and you'll be guided, you'll be protected, you'll be kept. But until then, the infinite can't do it for you until you ask for it. And this psalm is one way that you're being very clear about what you want. I want safety. I want protection. I want you to keep me safe through this and help me as I ascend out of this so that I can wake up in a wonderful way. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. To be smited by the sun and the moon, on one hand, if you're a neo-pagan, the sun and the moon represent your divine parents. And so from that perspective, you could interpret this as the infinite's not here to smite you. The infinite's not here to punish you. The infinite's not here to cause you trouble. The infinite's here to wake you up and to keep you safe and to give you all that you need in order to thrive. The other way that you could look at that is, like we said before, the sun smites you in the desert because if you don't have shade, you'll suffer. And then the moon by night, since the moon is the ruler of the nighttime, that all of the unknown dangers of the night in the desert come out to be a problem for you. There's scorpions, there's all kinds of predators, there's horrible things that can happen at night that you can't see. So that would be another way to look at that. So there's many ways that you can interpret these symbols, and both of those I think work beautifully. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Now remember that your soul doesn't need preserving. So when the Psalms say the soul, they're usually talking about the deep mind, the habitual mind. That's the manufacturer of your reality. When the Lord is preserving your deep mind, what that means is that if you ask the infinite to think through you and to reprogram your deep mind so that it becomes filled with the thoughts of the infinite rather than the thoughts of the ego, then your circumstances automatically change to reflect that, because that's how cause and effect works. That's how heaven and earth, if you will, works. What you think about habitually and what you have faith in the depths of your deep mind, those are the things that populate your world. When it says, preserve thee from all evil, how do you preserve yourself from evil? By deleting the evil files in your mind. This is a very powerful understanding of what this initiation is. And part of that initiation is the reprogramming of your deep mind. That means relinquishing and giving up ideas that don't serve you, that are causing manifestations in your world that are so-called evil, and replacing those things with the thoughts of the infinite, which are the thoughts of the truth of who you are, which do gently awaken you from the dream. So it's a very powerful thing to say, the Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Because what you're esoterically asking for, what you're truly asking for, is that your deep mind be cleansed and recalibrated so that it becomes one with your soul rather than with your ego. And then all of your manifestations change, because that's the nature of cause and effect. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. The going out and the coming in are these illusions within the nightmare that we live in, that we've got to go travel. We've got to go to the store. We've got to go to work. We've got to go from one place to the next to the next. In this illusion, we have this idea that we are moving from place to place to place to place to place. And in reality, we're doing nothing like that. We are dreaming that we are doing those things because there's no place for us to move. There's no space, there's no time, there's no distance in our soul where we are actually asleep and safe. We are awakening to the truth that there is no coming or going. There is no death and rebirth. There is no up and down. There is none of that. There is only bliss. There is only truth. There is only joy. However, in the midst of the dream, we do have power to have the dream be a happy dream. We do have the power to make sure that the dream that we're dreaming is a safe dream and starts to reflect the truth of what is really happening on the level of our soul, on the plane of our soul. So when it says, the Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in, you have every right to claim safety when you're traveling, no matter what the travel looks like. Whether it's traveling what you think is a long journey overseas or just simply crossing the street to go to the store, you have every right to claim safety and to claim protection and to claim all of the things that you desire in this life. Joy, prosperity, health, all of the things that are good here. You have every right to them because this dream starts to reflect the reality, and then eventually you just wake up from the dream. But in the meantime, if you keep asking that infinite intelligence, reprogram that deep mind of yours, then the manifestations within the dream become very different. And that's an exciting time in your life when you start to notice that you are safe and things do work out for you and you are joyful and you are happy. From this time forth, even forevermore. And this is where the Psalms and the fairy tales converge. Happily ever after. What's happily ever after? What's evermore? It's the present moment. That's the time of the soul. The soul doesn't have tomorrow. The soul doesn't have yesterday. The soul is now. And the soul doesn't live in linear time. The soul lives in the spaces between your thoughts. Because your thoughts, especially those thoughts that are ruled primarily by our ego mind, are thoughts that are inaccurate. They're thoughts of separation. They're thoughts that you're not good enough. They're thoughts that you're unsafe, that you're vulnerable, that you're subject to all manner of problem. In fact, those thoughts tend to manufacture problems that are there to prove to you how bad you are, or not good enough you are, or unsafe you are. And those problems are presented to you as problems that are unsolvable. That's not where the soul lives. The soul doesn't have unsolvable problems, only the ego does. So when we have that, we're not living in evermore. We're not living in happily ever after. We're living in yesterday and tomorrow. When we live in the present moment, in those gaps between our thoughts, we recognize that the gaps between our thoughts is the eternal now that is our home. And that's when we start to wake up. But before we start to wake up, we get to live this dream in a new way. And that's what these Ascension Psalms are there for, is to initiate us into this new way of living in the dream, so that the dream reflects the reality, so that we just naturally wake up and it's no big deal. And that happens forever. And forever is in the present moment. So you just keep coming back to the psalm until you get that sense that everything that you brought to the psalm has been taken care of. You have a sense of peace. You have a sense of certainty about the situation. For instance, if you did this because you knew that you had to take a trip or something and you wanted to be safe while you were traveling, you would just keep coming back to it, either until you leave on your trip or until you feel like, I feel fine. I feel wonderful. I know everything's fine. And then you can just move off of that and go on to something else. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. Until next time, blessed be.